Well, we just have to build off some good things. I thought for 2 periods last game we played pretty well. I think we went over that, addressed kind of what happened in the third, and just look. I mean, we're right in game. So there's things that we've improved on from last year, and I think we got to kind of stick with it. We know the identity of our group and what works and what doesn't, and we get to take advantage of some home games and try to get some points.
Off of that, you've hit the 10-game mark now as a team. What have you learned about your group to this point of the season?
Well, like I said, I mean we have to play a certain way to be in games. The defensive structure has been better. Obviously, the penalty kill's been outstanding. We got to take some less penalties, though. That's been something that's been biting us a little bit early and kind of just throws off the rhythm of the game when you're killing, you know, early in the game. Offensive zone penalties. We've given up 5-on-3, kind of crazy in 2 or 3 straight games. So that's just a big burden on the penalty kill guys. And obviously, power play's got to get. We've talked about that. It was nice to get one last game, and hopefully we can kind of build off that.
Even move back to center. How much of that was just doing what the team needed, and how much was trying to get maybe your game going at 5-on-5?
Yeah, I mean, probably have to ask Bruno on that one, but we've talked, and obviously I'm comfortable playing there. I thought, when we made the switch last year, that kind of helped out. It's just been touch and go with obviously the offensive production for our team this year, and it's a thing that we struggled with last year, and it's kind of nipping us a little bit this year as well. But yeah, I thought last game felt good. Like I said, definitely comfortable in there. I feel like you're involved a little more, touch the puck a little more, and hopefully that continues to translate.
I guess keep growing our game here a little bit. I think we did some really good things throughout the weekend. Didn't get a result on Sunday. Probably wasn't consistent. We're all, as coaches, we're selfishly all looking for a 60-minute game, even though we know that's not going to happen. A little bit of the mindset in that game. Can we grow a little bit from that, learn from that, and then move it forward? It's going to be games that the waters get a little rough. We just got to make sure we keep the boat kind of steering in the right direction.
The move to take Smashville out and put Stamkos at center, how much of that was just not seeing enough from Vetter, and how much was trying to get Stamkos going from 5-on-5?
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit of both. I think trying to get Stammer maybe skating a little bit more. He kind of got stuck a little bit on the wing, having trouble finding the right combination through the middle of the ice. And I just thought, let's get him skating. I didn't think he was skating quite to his capabilities. It kind of worked last year. We got him going there a little bit when he got through the middle of the ice, and it's been hard for him to find that chemistry with any of our guys completely here right now. So I thought was one of his best games. I thought skating-wise last game, I thought he had the puck more, had some chances. So hopefully that gives us an opportunity, or at least to try to get him going. And with Svech, he's been a little bit inconsistent. I think he sees stretches where he looks like, he's ready to take that next step, and there's other days that, he's looking for it a little bit. And I think probably like a lot of our guys, and he's a young player that hasn't gone through it a lot, he hasn't produced at the level that he's hoping to produce at. And I think he's looking for the result instead of the process. And he's got to get back to the process to give himself an opportunity to have the result. And I think he'll find that.
And with Svech, you've always praised his defense. The defense is what he's been showing. It's just mostly just not there on the offense.
Yeah, just a little bit, like I said, probably trying to beat guys one-on-one. He's trying to get that first goal. He's a young kid that, he knows he hasn't scored. He really wants to score really bad. He wants it. It's not like he's not trying. He's trying as hard as he can. It's just not happening for him right now. So I think just a little bit of a reset with him will get him back going. I mean, there's lots to love about the kid. He's going to be a good player. We just got to bring him along in the right mentality here of just trusting, playing a certain way. You're getting your opportunities, kind of like he did last year. And we all know he can shoot the puck.
What have you thought of Matthew Wood in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, we're asking a lot from him. I thought he made a great play the other night against LA. I thought he was, maybe wasn't his best game Sunday, but we're also matching up against top guys, and that's hard for a young player. Still, when you look at the body of work, he made some plays, and that's what he does. He's smooth hands and sees the ice well, has great instincts. So he brings a little bit of that offensive flair. Just certain nights, it's tough. So I'm looking for him to have a little reset here today and get back to where I believe he can be.
Bruno, when teams aren't scoring, and there's a lot of them, and systems become the topic of the day all the time? Or do you find yourself trying to let the players sort of work their way out of it their own way?
Well, I mean, good question. I wish I had an answer for it. I think we're all searching for that. I think it's somewhere in between. I think as coaches, we're here to help them, trying to teach them or show them, or hopefully they trust us that these are the reasons why we're not scoring, or how can we have, the puck more, or how could we create a little more offensively. I think we're doing that. I think with some of the older players, they want to see a little bit of it, but they've done it their whole career, and they kind of know. It kind of gets lost in translation, and as a coach, you start worrying, do you start paddling your own direction because you're looking for it. And I think when you're doing that, at least my experience as a player and probably and a coach, is it's probably a little bit more detrimental to yourself, and you don't notice it, where you're trying to do things your own way because it's always been done that way. And I think you get further and further from really the end result in our league, and you need to be kind of connected with who you're playing with. And when you go on your own, you kind of disconnect a little bit. So I think that's sort of the message we're trying to convey. Like I said, a lot of guys have scored a lot of goals, played a lot of, scored a lot of points in our league, and when they're struggling, they seem to go the other way. And I know as a player, I did. I wish I didn't all the time, but I did. And it wasn't, what I learned is that it wasn't helpful. And it usually dug me a bigger hole than where I was before.
Do you see an evolution of this team, in your time in the league, a long time as a player and through now as a coach? I always thought of Nashville as, look at the list of guys they have on defense, and so much of the offense. Weber, Subban, Suter, and all these guys, so much
Ellis,
to get back to the point pounding. And the forwards were, part of that process, but it almost seemed to start from the back end. That is bound to change in the evolution of any team, but do you see it as an evolution on the team now, where it's a little bit more on the forward side and trying to produce a game that starts with the forwards, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of the way it was?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got mobile D. I think we play a certain way. I think it is totally different than the time they've had all those guys in the back end. Obviously, totally different personnel, and they had some talented guys. I just even thinking Ryan Ellis and obviously Yost, and obviously we're missing Yost. But yeah, they created. You guys seen them. I coached against them, played against them. That's exactly how they played. I think we're trying to have a little bit of an evolution of playing a little bit different. And I think you could probably look at it the way the league's played right now. I think. And we'll see it with Tampa tonight. You scrum them early, and they're basically letting you go to the point, low to high. And then, so what do you do with it low to high? And, sometimes, in my opinion, our defense have too many touches and our forwards don't have enough. But that's part of the evolution of how do you get out of the scrum? Now, what's your next play, right? And we are encouraging our defensemen to have some mobility, but we kind of want it back in our forwards' hands. And that takes a little bit of a skill set. You can say systematically, you say that, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But I think that's something when we got to our best, and usually you'll see it in either slot driving or some of these analytic numbers that you creating from certain places. That's probably lacking a little bit with us, And I think that your puck always has to find its way back to the net somehow. And we don't have the bombers that they had back then, so we have to be a little bit more creative how we're going to kind of create.
And last one for me was, speaking of the defense, and how much do you have mobile defense? Everybody has mobile defense, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you sort of have the reins on those guys? When I'm talking about coming out of your own end. Inside the offensive zone is what it is, what you just talked about, I get that. But coming up the ice, guys, with the puck, like Yossi, you've got one of the best of the generation. Is that a thing that you allow all your guys to do? Is it just Roman that gets to do that? Or what's your philosophy sort of on defensemen? Like leading the rush, being in the rush?
Well, yeah, I like them in the rush. I like a 4-man attack. We got ourselves in a little bit of problems because we don't have 6 Romans. Obviously Roman's a different type player than we have, but we're asking for that second layer of offense coming from the defense, not the first layer. I think it just puts you in a better position if there's a breakdown. Now, we get a little bit carried away, and I think we did last year. This year, we're trying to be a little bit more cognizant of when we go and how we go offensively. We've done a better job. We probably haven't created quite as much on the rush because we're in between a little bit there. But I think as if we can kind of get where we don't want you up all the time. We want you, for them to pick out when's the time to go, when it's time not to go. So we're a little bit in between there. We're learning, and right now we have to learn a little bit in the part where we're not going to chase offense. We're going to naturally, instinctively be up, and when we see an opportunity, we go. And we're learning that a little bit. We got some young D. They're mobile, but yeah, to answer your question, I know I'm babbling, but I think to have them active, I think is really important to the way we play, because we're not a burning team up front. So we need that secondary kind of, if we can push them back and have our D come up with some pace and some speed. I think that when we're at our best, a couple years ago and different times last year, that's what it looks like. And we're just trying to find that cadence right now. And it's, like I said, it's better to pull the reins a little bit here, and hopefully we find the times to go and when not to go. And it'll make us better and it'll make us more dangerous, but we have to step by step to get there.
Do you want the last one?
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
Stamkos, please.
Yeah.
Here, year two, you talked about how you want to get him moving a little more, feet moving a little more, get him back to center. He said to us moments ago that you've had obviously conversations. There seems to be still a bit of a transition for a guy who's in one place for a long time. He's a 600 goal scorer, soon to be. What are you willing to share about what has been the emphasis of those conversations in terms of getting him to be as effective as he can be?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had a lot of conversations. He's been great, really cerebral in how the game's played and how it's broken down, and how he sees it. And he's been, we've collaborated. We've talked about different things, and he's bought into what we're trying to do. I think he understands where we are. He understands what style he has to play, and where does he fit. I think he's carrying a big burden of the power play right now. And he's a Hall of Famer, obviously first ballot, but he's feeling it a little bit that way, and he's having trouble finding some chemistry. And I think that's kind of been, for the whole time he's here. So we're hoping, we find somebody for him. We find a little bit of something that matches and something that can get going, that can ignite him, ignite us. It's there. It was there last year. It took a little while to find it, and this year we're trying to find it, maybe in a different approach than we had last year. And he's bought in. He's been very easy to deal with. And I just think through the middle of the ice, my message to him all the time is, I just want you to have the puck more. So how do you get the puck more? Because if you have the puck more, you have a better opportunity to do what you do. And he still skates great. And, obviously we know he should. We want him to have the puck a little more. I think if center ice gives him a little bit more freedom, I don't know if it'll be long term or just short term, to kind of spark him here.